Today on Locked On Rockies, it's the debut of the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. And what do we learn from the Noah Syndergaard deal? All that and more on today's pod. Welcome into Locked On Rockies. I am Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, proudly part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Rockies podcast your first listen. We are free and streaming on all your favorite platforms, and we're on YouTube. Woo! For the video listeners, you can see me. I'm doing a little dance. I'm doing a little move here as I'm showing off that, yes, we have entered the video space. We were going to go live yesterday, but just a couple of small things got in the way. Going to have lots of fun with the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. So be joining us here. We'll be doing episodes, if audio still going to be there. If you still listen to the show through your audio devices, don't worry about that. We will be live and free and streaming on all your favorite streaming services like we always are. But now we are on YouTube, so please subscribe to us on YouTube at Locked On Rockies. You can find us there. You can find this bright, smiling face. I have a tooth now. I have a new tooth after I got I had my earlier this year. I played it cool during the season, but this whole baseball season, I was missing a tooth, and you saw it in a couple of videos if you followed the show very closely. But so my freshman year of high school, I got hit in the face with a baseball, and I had a mouth guard in my back pocket. And my brother had the same thing happen to him years before. It's totally my fault. Totally a big bummer. Not totally my fault, actually. Totally my fault that I wasn't protecting myself with the family history and knowing what my brother went through, blah, blah, blah. But the kid didn't know how to do the in and out, hit me in the face with a baseball, whole thing. Oh, let's get that back. There we go. See YouTube, we're figuring things out. But anyway, got this new tooth. We're smiling. I got my leftover Nacho Libre mustache with my beard coming back in. So I got the full hipster look here to talk to you all about some Rockies baseball. But so on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the Noah Syndergaard deal and kind of the mindset, the mentality that we see there with the Angels. Maybe something we can learn from it from the John Gray deal. We're also going to just briefly touch on something from Trevor's story. Nothing crazy, nothing too big that we saw. That's it was indeed what we expected. Let's just start there. Let's just start with the simple Trevor Story news, the nothing that's too surprising. The deadline, I believe, to accept qualifying offers is tomorrow, Wednesday. We are recording here. This is the podcast for the 16th of November. I did not say that at the top of the show, in case you're curious. But Trevor Story is expected to reject the Rockies qualifying offer, go into free agency. The Rockies, are expected to get that draft pick. I think that'll still be a thing. I would have to imagine. I do wonder with the CBA, with all that stuff that's coming up, with the agreements, with all of those things, what that might mean for the Rockies and the Trevor Story deal and other people that have offered qualifying offers. But the market, it clearly is heating up. People are signing deals. I'm curious what also the December 2nd CBA deadline means for some of these free agents for their process and going out and signing deals. Seeing a lot of pitchers getting signed so far. Haven't seen, obviously, anyone from the shortstop market. I believe Carlos Correa officially declined the Astros option yesterday. I could be wrong on that, but I believe the deadline that I saw today was tomorrow for the Rockies or for players to accept the qualifying offer. At least that is what we have been told, what we have seen from the world of baseball media and Rockies people. Let me get the full details here. Let me get the tweets as I'm scrolling here from Patrick Saunders. As expected, I'm told that Trevor Story will definitely not accept the Rockies qualifying offer. The deadline is Wednesday. As many as 8 teams have checked in on Story, but not the Rocks. See, there you go. That's the thing that bothers me, and that's what I hate about the end of the Trevor Story era, and that's what I don't like about how the Rockies treated their star players in the past. You have to at least check in. You have to at least ask. You have to at least talk to Trevor Story. Don't just throw in the, because if you threw in the towel, you should have traded him. Because this draft pick is not going to be better. And this is going to lead into the conversation that we're going to have here in just a little bit about the Noah Syndergaard deal. But the one draft pick for the potential deal that you could have got at the deadline is, I just don't think is going to pay off the same way. And then to basically have there and have 8 teams check up on him and have not only the Rockies check out up on him, just doing the same thing. I can classically hear what they've said already is, we've offered him the qualifying offer. We've done what we can. He knows how we feel about him. The same thing that they said in the, leading up to the offseason with Trevor Story. It's a BS line. It's a BS line. Be active, be engaging, go after your star players. If you truly wanted to make Trevor Story part of this team again, you would do more than just throwing your hands up after offering the qualifying offer and not having any form of conversations. What are the Rockies doing with these players? Why are they not talking to John? Why are conversations with John Gray not ongoing? Why are we not hearing more about that? Because of stuff like this. And this is what gets you worried. This is what gets you upset. Now, we all knew Trevor Story wasn't going to take the qualifying offer. We all knew he was going to go away. But all I'm saying is at least talk to him. At least don't have reports come out and say 8 teams have checked up on Trevor Story, but the Rockies aren't one of them. The qualifying offer is not good enough. You have to at least be talking to him. You have to at least be telling him your plan. You have to at least be going on and figuring out what you want to do with the Rockies going forward with that player. So again, nothing too surprising. It just is a little frustrating. I just hate that. 8 teams checked up on Trevor Story, but the Rockies aren't one of them. They have to be talking to him if you actually are interested in having him be part of this club and being a part of this team. I just, I don't know. But on the lighter side of Trevor Story news, he held a golf outing this weekend. What was it? What was the foundation for? Let me get through the tweets here. But it was super fun. Oh, that one got deleted. But you had a golf outing, and he was out there with Cargo, with Nolan, with Rymac, with other players out doing some. So that was a fun thing. He was out smiling, having a good time from the first annual Trevor Story Golf Classic. Let's see. I wonder if I can let's find some information on the Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to find anything there. But yeah, Trevor Story, a fundraiser for some things, and got to have a whole bunch of people around celebrating his birthday with a whole bunch of people raising money for good causes, playing golf with a bunch of his buddies. It's really, again, something I will it'll always be upset, but Nolan and Trevor being good buddies still always makes me happy, always makes me excited, and who knows. As we talked about in a crossover, he could be in St. Louis. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to go there. We will just instead end the Trevor Story talk there and shift our focus to the MLB at whole, the Noah Syndergaard deal, and why I like the move, honestly. But before we do that, got to tell you about our friends at Bet Online. They're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online remains your number one spot, folks. Yes, that's right. Your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. All you got to do is use the promo code Locked On to receive that welcome bonus, that 50% welcome bonus. Remember, promo code Locked On, 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you sign up today at Bet Online. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Sign up today. Use the promo code Locked On and get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at Bet Online. So the big news in baseball today, Noah Syndergaard reaches a 1-year, $21 million deal with the Angels. Big move from the Angels, a team that desperately needs pitching. Mike Trout already tweeting back at Jeff Passan, or tweeting back at Zach Hampel with some flame emojis. This is what the LA teams get the benefit of, and this is what the Angels should have been doing being in this market. They have to have more money surrounding them because they are an LA team. That's just simply true. They're a bigger market. There's a reason why there's two LA teams. I guess they're Anaheim. I don't know all that stuff. But this is an approach that signals we need to make a splash. We know what we have. We know what we need to improve. Spend the money to improve it. Remember, when you're talking about contracts, people, that this is not your money. You are not paying these athletes anything. You maybe, I guess, in a way, it trickles down from your ticket sales or merch buying, which I highly doubt. This is the type of moves you have to make when you see potential, when you see pieces that you have, when you have arguably the two best players in baseball on your team. You need to do things like this. You need to be aggressive. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a draft pick probably down the line. But again, draft. All we hear is draft talk, especially around the Rockies. But when you don't need to look to the future, when you have in front of you great pieces, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, probably some other people on the Angels. I'm not as familiar with them. I know the Angels can swing the bat. Let me double check on them. But I know the Angels struggled when it comes to pitching. This is something that is going to make an impact on the team if he can stay healthy. Of course, this is the big what if with Syndergaard. That's not really what I'm highlighting. I think Syndergaard has proved enough that he deserves a chance like this. And yeah, he hasn't pitched a lot, and injuries have been a bad thing, but people have come back. I mean, you got if you can use them the right way, if you can figure things out, there's something that's Syndergaard being 29, you can get a couple of solid years, especially if he's able to, if he's able to come back after fully resting that injury. That's what you need to do to bolster this rotation. That's a move that makes you wonder, is John Gray going to go there? The cost is hefty. ESPN's article, beyond the $21 million, the Angels will forfeit their second round draft pick in 2022 because Syndergaard had the qualifying offer by the Mets. This is a good deal. And they weren't the only ones. Blue Jays, Yankees, all took flyers on Syndergaard. I mean, this shows you that this is what you have to do. You have to make splashes like this because the Angels can't wait. The Angels cannot wait to get better pitching, to draft and develop pitching, to wait for their pitchers to come up through the system. It just simply doesn't work that way. It just simply doesn't. Well, it doesn't. But to fit that competitive window. That's why it's frustrating when you look back at the Rockies and why we're here. You didn't do enough to say that this competitive window is closed and build to get yourself back into the future. Look at what we're doing with big name Rockies from the contention window right now. But this is how you make an immediate impact on your team. This is how you see and tell yourself, this is where we struggle. This is where we need to get better. Let's go out and make a splash. And I'm sure they're not done. They can't be. Because they know they only have so much time of Mike Trout and Shohei. And especially if Trout's getting hurt. If you have Mike Trout on your team and you don't make the playoffs ever at all, that's a mistake in philosophy. That's a mistake in how you run your team. That's a mistake. And again, you can say the same type of thing for the Rockies. The Rockies needed to be more aggressive. They needed to do more stuff like this. They need to shelve the idea of this draft and develop when you have the competitive window open. Right now, that's a different story for the Rockies. Honestly, if you're focusing on drafting and developing players right now, I get that. That makes more sense. The Rockies aren't in a spot. But going from 2018 into 2019, you have to make a deal. You have to make the Rockies better. You have to look at where the Rockies struggle and make a move. Spend some money. Capitalize on the opportunities that are at hand for you and your ball club. You simply have to. Because when you miss and if you miss big. And the Rockies missed big. Trevor Story and potentially John Gray leaving, along with the other Rockies names that we've talked about multiple times leaving from the competitive window of not that long ago. It's just, you missed it. That's a miss. Almost winning the NL West, coming that close and not doing anything to bolster that team, to make a move, to make a change, that's a miss. To see that your season was imbalanced, to see it in 2019, to see the possibilities that you had, to see where you were struggling in that season, to see the warning signs and to not do anything about it, that's a miss. Instead of going into one of the final years before, instead of going into the final years of the opt-out of your once-in-a-generation player that you've signed to a long-term deal to be the face of this franchise, instead of going out and building the team around them, you trade him, thus signaling the official end of the competitive window for this team. That is a miss. If Noah Syndergaard doesn't pan out for the Angels, it's still okay. It's a one-year deal. They can figure it out, because if it does pan out, that's major. You get a major arm, an electric arm, someone that can bring. He's not going to be there forever. He's 29, sure, but he's still only 29. You're telling me he still doesn't have a few years of being a pretty darn good starter in there? I don't believe it. I think that is a great move, and I think that's a mentality you have to have. You have to go out and make a deal. You have to make your team better immediately by willingness to move some players, to move some of this draft and development mindset, and to get better. Drafting and developing does help your team get better. Yes, it is the way to go for teams that don't have the same access as the same resources as some of these big name teams. Yes, I'm talking about the Rockies versus an LA team, but I'm talking about the Angels. They're not the flashiest LA team. They're not the Dodgers. They're not even the Yankees or the Red Sox. But they get that LA bonus. And I'm sure that they're sitting there looking at what else is going on in LA sports teams. Sure, the Rams didn't put on a good display last night, but I wonder, you do wonder with these big market teams, that's kind of got to be the approach. And yes, the Rockies can't do this all the time. I'm not expecting the Rockies to do this all the time. I'm expecting the Rockies to just do it when the window is open. For us to realize that the Rockies' missed opportunities in the competitive window is a bad philosophy. And I'm hoping that this new front office is learning and taking anything from the missed opportunities of the Bridich era. Being aggressive with free agents is something they have to do. You cannot be a top 10 team in attendance. You cannot have a stadium full of fans, whether they be home or away, and sit there and say that you are just small market, because it's not true. When the window is open, go for it. Any dollar spent to get you a World Series is worth it. Jeff Carr had an interesting point in the our group chat. I was going to pull it up on my phone, but he basically said, the host of Locked On Reds said this: I ask myself, is it too much money for a World Series? And the answer to that question is often no. Is there even, and he followed that up with, I don't think there's ever a situation where the answer is no. If you think that you can get a World Series, if you see that your team has the possibility to go off and win the World Series, or at least make it into the playoffs and get into the dance, go for it. Spend the money. Dive in. Make your team better. A World Series is good for business, folks. It's very good for business. Maybe not in the long term. I don't know. But I think that's a bunch of hooey. I think the Rockies would be a lot more popular and a lot more fun, and there'd be a lot more money in there on top of somewhere of a team that already is a top 10 attendance ranking team if there was a World Series championship that happened a couple years ago. You could place banners of these players that would literally have cemented their legacy as these cornerstones that would have been there and could have established an era of Rockies baseball that could have been something. But without embracing this idea of going out and going after it, taking a risk on a guy that hasn't pitched, you got to do this stuff. When Noah Syndergaard is interested in coming to your team, you go for it. You give it a shot. That's my 2 cents on the Syndergaard deal. Let's take another look around Major League Baseball and see if there's anything else of interest that we want to talk about. But before we do that, a word from some sponsors. As we mentioned, a couple of other pitchers have already gone off and signed on some deals. This is something that's interesting. I'm curious as the starting pitching market is closing a little bit. John Gray's situation has to become more and more interesting. I do wonder if that means the Rockies and them are getting. Again, there's nothing that points to that they're closer to a deal, but with the fact that Noah Syndergaard, Jose Barrios, and Eduardo Rodriguez all have signed. I mean, those are some names all trying to get some stuff done that they've already gotten deals done. That does change the free agent starting pitching market. So I'm wondering, we've heard that the Tigers have been interested in John Gray. They might not be too far off. I'm curious. There's teams that are going to be interested in John Gray. If teams like the Angels are willing to go out and pay Noah Syndergaard this money for a 1-year deal, I am curious what teams are going to be willing to pay John Gray for a 3-year deal. The Rockies included. The Rockies have to realize that they're going to have to spend more money. Tigers could be fun. Tigers could be a fun team. They have some interesting stuff going on. They have some interesting stuff. I mean, and they could be a Trevor Story spot as well. I mean, they could be John Gray and Trevor Story spot. Who knows? Could definitely be something that we need to keep our eyes on as we get closer to this the December 1st CBA, the second stuff, all that stuff coming up. Jeff Passan is reporting that the winter GM meetings have Corey Seager and Marcus Semien markets accelerating that they could sign before the December 1st lockout. I've been saying the second, I guess. So December 1st on this Jeff Passan tweet. But yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on all the free agents and all the stuff going on here on Locked On Rockies. But folks, that is going to do it for today's episode, the debut episode of Locked On Rockies on YouTube. Look at this. So fun. Follow us there. Subscribe at Locked On Rockies. You can also find us free and streaming on all your favorite streaming services. Now that you made Locked On Rockies your first listen, why not go make Locked On Bets your second listen? Your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with analysts and insight from Lee Sterling. They are on a hot streak, folks. Go win some money with the Bet Online at Bet Online with the Locked On Bets podcast. Folks, we'll be back in action on your favorite streaming services and on YouTube tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, follow us on Twitter at LO Rockies. Follow me at Paul Holden 33, as you can see, whoop, right there. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long for the Locked On Rockies podcast.